Guys, welcome back to Between the Ropes TV. As usual, we're going to be doing our reaction to Canelo Plant, the big fight that was last night. And it was yet another win for Canelo, a TKO stoppage in the 11th round. And yeah, it was an interesting fight, wasn't it? I mean, from my personal view, I think that you saw Plant put up a really good fight, and he can walk away with quite a bit of respect to me personally. But there's such a wide range of opinions, so it's probably going to be an interesting reaction from us both, from all three of us, because I imagine there will be quite a varied opinion. Josh, I'll head straight over to you. Obviously, Canelo keeps his undefeated record. I mean, what are your initial thoughts?
I'm surprised. Not surprised Canelo won. We all predicted that. What I am pleasantly surprised about is I'd sort of agree with you. I think Caleb Plant, I don't know if he put up a better fight. He did at times. I mean, I think the only thing, when you look through Twitter straight after the fight and sort of matching it with my own thoughts, I think the only thing you can agree with that is he won the first round, probably the fifth as well. Other than that, I think there was bits in rounds, little times Canelo looked a bit frustrated when he just started chopping to the body. But for me, what Plant's shown, and you talk about the respect that he's probably earned there, I think the one thing everybody had to sort of concede, even if you were a Caleb Plant's team, he's not got the resume that Canelo had. He's not been in with those superstars, those probably future Hall of Famers. And he showed, I don't know if he's shown he can mix it in terms of skill level, but he's tough. I think he's definitely shown that. And, he'll come again, won't he? Canelo's after history. I mean, he did say after the fight, when he was asked whether he'll stay at 168 or move to 175, he said, I don't know, rest is what I want right now. I think he'll get to 175 and do it all again, to be honest. Try to anyway, certainly. But no, I thought it was a good fight. It was a much better fight than I actually thought it would be. I'll be honest. Like, if you'd have said to me before it, how's it going to go? I'd have said Canelo, I think he'll do his usual first round or two. He'll sort of work the opponent out. And then from the third round onwards, he'll start chopping away and, start landing the blows to get the stoppage. Yeah. I mean, I thought rounds sort of 7, 8, possibly 9, he would get that stoppage. But no, Plant, tough, durable. And to be fair, there was a lot of talk. I know Ben, me and you, I think you mentioned it in the preview, but I know we've definitely spoke about it off this. He possibly did these fights in reverse in the last 11 months to become undisputed. And, you'd argue Callum Smith had the ring belt, was regarded as number one. He did him first. So this week, as excited as I was, there was a little bit of disappointment, like especially as Brits, it would have been great to have seen that for the undisputed. But no, I think the fight lived up to it. And, it was a good fight, good win for Canelo. Another knockout as well as he's moving through these weight classes. Excited to see what's next, really am.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? As you say, undisputed champion at that weight level now. You do wonder if he's now going to move up a weight. And as you say, it was quite a varied opinion on Twitter. And I think that was reflected in the scorecards as well when we look at them. So, the scorecards themselves, 98-92 Canelo, 97-93 Canelo, 96-94 Canelo. That was at the time of the stoppage. That was. Ben, how did you kind of score the fight in terms of, did you feel it was a close fight, or did you feel that maybe, there was a bit more of a margin?
I'd say, I think with the scorecards, there was a few rounds which, depending on the style you could give to either fighter. But in Vegas, Canelo's more than likely getting those rounds. But this is what I like about boxing, about Canelo. The scorecards are irrelevant. He stopped him in the 11th. It does not matter if Plant won every round. Canelo leaves the winner. And this is why, if you can go in that mentality to stop your opponent, you win no matter what. And Canelo's game plan was right. And he's going down in history, like Josh said. And he's pound for pound number one. And he just keeps making strides. And what's good, I can't remember the last Canelo fight where you're like, well, he's fighting a bit of a no one. He's always fights where, even if you think he's going to win, they're the fights which you're like, you're still excited because he's still fighting a bit of a name.
Yeah.
And I just think and especially with Plant, if he, towards the 5th and 6th, he looked like he was tiring a touch, I thought. But then if you're sat in those later rounds thinking I'm getting a bit tired and you look across to Canelo stood in his corner, that's got to be intimidating.
Yeah, still just at it and ready to go.
It's just, and when everyone calls in the pound for number one, you know you're in with a dangerous man. You know you're the underdog. You know you've got to pull everything out the bag to win it. And he stood there waiting to go. And I just think Canelo was never going to lose that fight. I just don't think he was. I think, like Josh said, the resume, it's too good. He's got the experience. He's got the style. He's got the coach. And I think he's the best in the world. I don't think Plant's at his level, but I don't think anyone at super middleweight's at his level.
No,
I don't think he loses at those weights. If he moves up, it's the weight that could hinder him. So we just got to see what happens from there.
For sure. And it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because, you look at people's thoughts, especially, and you've got some people calling other people clowns for saying that the scorecards were close. And you've got people that will generally say that were close, or even some of comments I've seen saying that Plant was unfairly done on the actual scorecards. Josh, why do you think that, obviously, why do you think there's such a dividing opinion on Canelo? Such as Ben's alluded to, probably talking pound for pound level, he's right up there with the top, if not the best at the moment. Why do you think there's a mixture of, people that are really for him and those that seem to be against him?
Well, I think, the style that he fights in, he'll sort of always takes the first round or two to suss out his opponent and just sort of, get the measure of them. Mayweather used to do that as well, didn't he? He'd sort of sit back and just get a feel for it. And then, as fights wear on, I think at times he'll sort of not do a fat lot for sort of 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes. And then he'll just come on strong in the last 30 seconds, 45 seconds. And you can nick rounds doing that. We've seen a lot of champions do it over the years. And I think that's where the scorecard discrepancies will possibly come in, because, it's, do you want 2 minutes of watching someone get their jab off, or, the odd hook or whatever it may be? Or do you want to see 30 seconds, 45 seconds of relentless action? And I think with the way boxing scored, it's probably a different video, but it's always open to interpretation, isn't it? It's I love a pressure fighter. So I love when Canelo goes for it, for me, he's absolutely incredible. And then I think, in terms of fan-wise, being for him, against him, I think it's irrelevant. I think you're always going to get, and I'm not slagging people off, everyone's entitled to their own opinion, as heated as it can get, particularly in this sport. But I think you almost get people who just want to be different, don't they? Like, they sort of struggle to actually give the respect out. And, and I think that's the key word here for me, regardless of whether you like Canelo, hate Canelo. You've got to respect him, because he's a 4-weight world champion now, undisputed at super middleweight. And, don't forget, it was only, 4, maybe 5 years ago now, I suppose, with COVID, that he was like, oh, I'm not a middleweight, and with the big Golovkin fight, which obviously we saw. Now, now he's undisputed at 168, and he's won belts at 175. I think we've got to give a little shout out to his team here. I know Ben very briefly mentioned his coach there, Eddie Reynoso. For me, he's the number one trainer on the planet right now today. Yeah. What he's doing with his stable. I know there's accusations before we get a load of comments about doping and stuff, but at face value, what he's doing with particularly Canelo, but, with Valdez, he's got Ruiz down in weight, hopefully legitimately. And whatever he's doing, absolutely hats off to the guy. And also Eddie Hearn. He takes a lot of stick, but obviously he's Canelo's promoter. And, they've kept him as a free agent now. Obviously, although he fights on DAZN, he's not contracted to them. And, we only got this fight because of that contractual situation, because PBC were not going to let Caleb Plant go onto DAZN, despite the money possibly being there. So I think you've got to say hats off, Eddie Hearn, whether Canelo's looked after him or not, nothing to do with us, who knows. But, he's potentially lost some money here where he could have promoted this fight. And let's be honest, the promotion would have probably been better, because Matchroom do a pretty good job with the promotion and the narrative. So, hats off to both those guys. And, I just want to get your guys, what do we think he'll do next? I really want to see him at light heavyweight, really with Bivol first, and then working towards that Beterbiev fight, which is probably the number one fight at light heavy.
Well, you mentioned him moving up to light heavyweight, and I think, Ben, you mentioned it earlier on in the reaction. Is it going to get to the point where, as great as he is, the weight factor is just going to become a little bit too much for him? Or, Ben, do you really feel they'll just step up into that light heavyweight weight class and just do all the same again?
I think he can, but I don't know. I think it's exciting. I think if he does move up, I think his legacy's cemented then, if that makes sense. 'Cause it's like,
Yeah.
no matter, even if he goes up and it doesn't work, you can't discredit what he's done at the natural weight, because this won't be exactly the natural weight. But the thing is, look at Callum Smith. Look what he did at that weight in his first fight, and people are talking like, "Oh, he'll be world champion. He's one of the best at that weight." Canelo's already made easy work of him. You think,
whoa.
No,
Here we go.
I'm sorry, Canelo. What Smith? He was never going to win that fight. I'm sorry,
Right.
but Smith. What did he do in that fight to make you think it wasn't easy work? He stood there and he took a beating.
I have to back you there. I'm sorry, Josh.
He
I
just
have
took
to
a
agree
beating.
with everything Ben's
So,
saying.
in my
Do it
opinion,
all we
unless
want to
the
give.
weight's going to help Smith,
Which of course it
Canelo
is.
goes and beats Smith. Canelo goes and he beats Smith again.
Right, I'm sorry, you pair are going to look an absolute. I don't know if you want to stop this and we'll start again, because you two are going to sound like it. I mean, Callum Smith. While Canelo did an absolute job on him at 168, I think Callum Smith sort of had to reluctantly admit his team were telling him he needed to move up long before he did. And he's admitted now he's fought at 175, getting that last 7 pounds off drained the life out of him. He's 6'3" and fighting at super middleweight. How he ever did that, God knows. But as soon as you start approaching your 30th birthday, to still be doing that, and I appreciate the payday he got for Canelo, and I'm not discrediting what Canelo did. They both fought at 168. It's a level playing field. But we definitely, as he's shown in his debut at 175, we absolutely did not see the best Callum Smith against Canelo. And Alan, who obviously comes on here sometimes, he's even said it. He thinks it's a different fight at 175. Without the dehydration factor for Callum Smith, I do think Callum Smith's got to, which he's more than capable of, got to go and get a world title to make that fight. But I think it'd be a different fight. I don't know who I'd actually back to win, because if Callum Smith can actually get his natural ability back without being dehydrated, it starts to become a different ball game.
I'm a big Smith fan, but my issue is he doesn't turn up to every fight. Look at the Ryder fight; he lost it. Some fights he doesn't seem in it. His first fight of the Super Series, he seemed to struggle, but then Groves, he was there and he was brilliant. And it's like, why can't he bring his best to every fight? And that's my biggest issue. Maybe it was the weight doing it. So now I think if we can get a consistent Callum Smith, we will get a different fight. But I don't know. I'm a big Canelo fan, I admit, but I'm not sure if he's able to quit.
No, you'd be loving it now, when you Canelo. It's a great year for you now, isn't it? Because you've got Canelo Undisputed super middleweight. You've got Ed Sheeran running around on Pride of Britain and making Christmas songs with Elton John.
Don't get his new album.
Exactly. And you're just sat there stroking one out to it all. This is ridiculous. Scott, you need to start controlling this channel a bit better.
I mean, it's a great day to be a ginger, basically, isn't it? That's what we're saying.
Brilliant day.
They've been due one.
And I think after this, Josh is going to go and have his breakfast and some tea with a great big Union Jack mug, and probably a nice big Union Jack bowl as a proper Brit, because I think that's the only way you can stick up for Callum Smith in that Canelo fight. If you've got the clouded judgment of being a British fan.
I'm not having this.
He's not even going to bite. He's not going to bite. Guys, let us know in the comments what do you think's next for Canelo. Should he step up? Well, he is going to step up, but let us know how you think he'll do at that light heavyweight weight class. And if you made it this far, as always, make sure to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you on the next video.